So welcome back, and here we are in the next video on this business model playlist. And again, I want to thank you if you were part of the big amount of new subs that I got. I really love you, and I love that you have connected to these new videos here. And if you are new to the channel, I welcome you so much as well. I hope you get a lot out of this video. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I'll link it at the very end. I did have my first kind of real viral-ish kind of video happen recently, and my channel kind of blew up for a small creator. So if you're curious about that, wait to the end, I'll pop it in there. But let's get into why you probably clicked on this video, whether it was the thumbnail or it was the title below. And that is being a social media influencer. Is that a good business model? Is that a viable career? Let's jump in and look at the pros, the cons, and the potential profits and the profit timelines of becoming a social media influencer. So imagine being paid to create content around something you love or something that you're passionate about. And that is exactly what a social media influencer is. They often start because they have something to share with the world. Maybe it's a topic like myself. I love talking about business models. I love talking about marketing and media and that type of thing. And that is, I guess, what you could say is my social media influence. I know I'm nowhere near any of the big guys here, but really I'm kind of at the grassroots of this. So I think that gives me a little bit of insight as to where you could be if you are looking at starting from this model. I am closer to the beginning than where, those big creators are today. And who are some of those big creators? Well, some of the ones that have influenced me to get here today are Think Media. There's also Ali Abdaal. There's Creating with Kea. And yes, I have a podcast with her. It is also down below. I absolutely adore her. And she was so much part of my journey in kind of getting here today, in saying that she motivated me to become a creator myself. There's also like common channels like vidIQ and TubeBuddy. And Nate Black. Nate Black came from Channel Makers as well. He came from there and started his own channel. And I could not miss Roberto Blake as well. Roberto Blake was one of kind of my first dabbles into the whole social media influencing world. I have read his book. I'll pop it in here so you can take a look at it. Highly recommend you check it out. That will be an affiliate link maybe one day, but right now as you are watching this, that is legitimately because I highly suggest if you are looking at becoming a social media influencer to check out his book. I got so much information from there, as well as just kind of inspiration and insights that you perhaps wouldn't see through the video world as well. And what's great is I love being able to highlight things and make notes in the margins and that type of thing. And also it's great from a copywriting standpoint, being able to quote someone popular like Roberto Blake or any one of the big social media influencers out there. This is something that could propel your career if you got into a habit of reading and then writing about stuff that you have read. So that's a little insight as well on just the copywriting model, which was one of the virtual-based business models that perhaps I talked about very early on. But a weird little bit of information here is that millions or even billions of people on this earth have the dream of becoming a social media influencer, though a lot of people don't end up doing it. I don't know if it is because, some of the things I touched upon in my vlog, the fear of being ridiculed or judged, or fear of not starting because you don't feel that you have enough to say about something. I don't know if it's because of that, or is it just because, the limitations of technology. I don't even think it's that, because most people have a cell phone nowadays. They're able to use their cell phone to create. So I don't think that really also is an excuse, but I really do think the majority of this is a mindset thing as to why people do not start. And it was funny to me when I started reading up on some of the statistics out there. They all vary in different like numbers, I guess you could say, but truth be told, the majority of children growing up in elementary school envision themselves as YouTubers in the future. And they use YouTubers as specifically, or TikTokers. So social media influence in a whole is what they think that they would like to do as a career. Whereas, me being a Gen Xer, when I grew up, if you were looking at marketing or media and that type of thing, you were looking at journalism. I want to become a newscaster, or I want to become an acting professional, or I want to go to film school, or whatever the case may be. That was kind of the social media influence that we had, or publishing, or print media, that type of thing. Back then, that's what it was. And now today, anyone can become a social media influencer as long as they have something that they're willing to share that others want to follow. So let's look at some of the pros, the cons, and the potential profits here. And I'm also going to interject myself into this as an early social media influencer. I hate using that term. It's weird how I feel weird calling myself a social media influencer right now. I like to think of myself as an educator. Curious thing. Maybe that's part of the hesitation as well of why people don't start. Maybe it's that fear of being judged for being an influencer rather than being looked at as an educator or an entertainer like Mr. Beasts of the world do. So I don't know if that's part of the hesitation as well, is that, you just can't get over the thought that you're going to be called an influencer if you get into something like this. All right, pros. Let's always start with the positive because that's who I am. I love being positive. Anyway, so some of the pros are the flexibility. If you are doing this full time, you create your own hours, you create your own filming schedules or blog schedules or marketing and media schedules, whatever the case may be, content schedules. You create all of that. You have the ability to scale your business, and it is a business. It is not just I'm going out there to, pitch a product, because people aren't there for that. You need to bring some kind of value to media influence. Otherwise, you're just, an ad otherwise. So if you take a look at this and create a business, there is a huge ability to kind of pivot and move this model into whatever you want. And that flexibility of saying, which way do I want to take this business? What do I want to put out there? What kind of content and timing and effort I want to put into my business? That is all highly flexible, even location. Like a lot of digital nomads can work anywhere in the world. And I remember reading in one of my comments about somebody who had relocated, and his channel was on relocating to another country and then subsequently traveling throughout Europe and sharing about that. I thought that was so cool, of being able to kind of do a business anywhere in the world, work at any time zone, and be seen anywhere. It's just amazing in that standpoint. So income as well. There is the ability to earn AdSense in, YouTube. There is also a creator fund on TikTok. Not as prevalent if you're in a country like myself, Canada. Yes, you earn more money in other places. TikTok, and that's why I'm really not there, is something that it's really not beneficial to me. So I'd rather really concentrate on certain parts of my business, my influence in the spaces that I really enjoy. And yes, there is potential to earn AdSense, whether if you are creating on YouTube, but there's also blogging. So if you turn your videos into blogs, you have the ability to also monetize those as well. And they often cross-pollinate as well. And the great thing with AdSense is that it's ongoing. It keeps going and it's evergreen. So a video from like 5 years ago could still be earning you money because of that AdSense. So AdSense, personally, I would never rely on it as an income. It wouldn't be the reason I quit my job. And I'm talking about kind of Peter McKinnon. I think it was 55 cents. He said when he earned his first 55 cents on AdSense, he quit his job and went into it full time. I wish I had the cojones to be able to do that, but I don't. And, well, I also don't have the AdSense income coming in either yet. But anyway, I also implore somebody who can live off of that type of income. Personally, I would never use it as the end all and be all of why I would quit my job. To me, if I ever got the privilege of earning AdSense, it would be the nice to have, not the need to have. But then you also can get things like brand sponsors. You can then have companies that reach out to you and pay you to represent their products or services. And yes, this is kind of a controversial thing because you have creators out there who will basically sell their soul in order to kind of get a brand sponsorship. They don't care about the product or service. They don't use it firsthand. They're just looking at the dollar amount for it, but you're always going to have somebody out there who is willing to do that. So just understand that, yeah, brand sponsorships, you have to kind of do your own temperature check when you get to that position and say, am I willing to kind of sell my soul to make a dollar? And I have had some companies already reach out to me as a small influencer, asking me to do a video on their behalf for an affiliate link. No, thank you. No, thank you. I can do that on my own and not sell my soul for it. I will be the person who will absolutely turn down things if it doesn't align to me using it or me finding value and being able to say that this is valuable enough for me to kind of put that in front of my community. Because to me, my community means more than anything. If you take a look at, companies like the big insurance companies, their customers are everything to that business. If they all left and went to another insurance company, the company would go belly up. And that's the way that I personally think about my own YouTube channel. If it's not good enough for me, I am not going to talk about it because it gives me $1 in my bank account or whatever. It really has to be something that I use, that I believe in, and that I absolutely would resource and pay for on my own far long before I represented it as a product that I would position as a brand sponsorship. Now, again, that's me. That's not saying that everyone or you would be in that same kind of position as well. It's just the way that I work. And I think that comes from, 30 plus years of signing every single year that you agree to a certain ethic and way of operating that will always put the customer first and your needs last. So I think that's just from a fiduciary standpoint that makes me the person that I am today as well. I'm curious if you guys think the same, or are you okay with the dollar? Feel free to comment. I love seeing what others think if you wanted to kind of debate this one out in the comments. The other thing also from an income standpoint is that you can earn affiliate income as well. We're going to get into more of that in a moment, but yes, there are some abilities to earn both active as well as passive income here. And that is some of the pros that you would absolutely say from an income standpoint, that you could create a business or a business model that works exactly the way that you want it to work. And the last one I want to touch about is, again, I think I talked about it briefly there, community. You absolutely can build a community on social media, whether that's Instagram or TikTok or Pinterest or Facebook or YouTube. You can build a community of people that follow you, as well as you can build a community with other creators. So being able to connect with other creators, to kind of do meetups and go to things like VidCon and that type of thing, that seems like amazing because it can be a very kind of lonely place to be at times too. And that takes me into the cons. Let's start exploring some of the cons next. So cons, and yeah, I just briefly touched about this, is that it can be lonely. This can be a lonely thing to build a channel where you're small. And even if you have a large community, it still can be lonely because it is you with this camera with this computer with, a microphone and lights, and that's it. It's very by yourself a lot of times, unless you have something like, Matty Matheson has a production team that does his videos with him. I mean, yeah, hello, dream to have something like that. But when you're starting, it's just you and you alone with equipment, and that's it. So it can be a little bit lonely. Also, consistency. Consistency is key. And I did talk about this, that I did burn out in the last little while, and I wasn't getting videos out as I normally got them out. And because of that, I did see a slight dip in viewership. I did have a couple of people unsubscribe because they didn't see videos from me. So it really does matter that you are consistent here. If your viewership gets used to you being there and they look forward to you talking and you're not there, well, guess what? There's no reason for them to stick around. So consistency is something that you absolutely have to abide by. And then when it comes to consistency, you really then have to kind of create a schedule. And I briefly talked about this, about, there's some flexibility there, but to be successful in this industry, you really do have to create a schedule and follow it in order to stay on top of everything, especially if you're just starting out and you are working. Myself, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I meditate, I have a coffee, and then I get into whether it's filming or building part of my business or writing a blog or doing social media, which I absolutely hate social media, Facebook, Instagram, talked about that as well. But for the most part, I have to be very consistent because then I'm responsible to go to a 9 to 5, but it's really a 6:30 to 4:30 or 6:30 to 6:30 thing for me. I'm responsible to go into a full-time job right afterwards, and then I jump back into my business and my social media influencing business right after work as well. And it's a lot of time and weekends as well. It's full time into all of this if you do want to make it work. So yeah, there is scheduling and planning that you have to do. It's not just like, oh, I feel like doing a video today. I'm just going to grab my video and go, or my camera and go. No, there's scripting, thumbnails, all of that type of thing that you absolutely have to do to get you here to get a video published. And I did talk about it, the burnout or the grind, as I actually call it. And grinding is something that you're going to just have to do for 1 to 2 years before you get up and going. And yes, there will be people in the comments here who say, oh, I published, 5 videos and got monetized. That's amazing. I'm super happy for you. I wish I could also have that success. But from the most part, people who are educators or social media influencers, you're not going to get up and going immediately unless you have something to contribute, whether it is a product, a service, or maybe even a look that everyone really likes or doesn't like, because it can be both ways. You can be super attractive and get a lot of viewership, or you can be really odd and get a lot of viewership. So it works both ways in that sense. But yeah, there will be people who will pop off and not be the norm, but there, for the most part, is most people like me. And you can absolutely look up videos from like vidIQ, also Creator Booth and TubeBuddy, that type of thing, who talk about what the majority of video creators or influencers out there experience, in the sense of majority of them don't ever get monetized. Majority of them don't ever even get 100 views on their video. So it's very much a grind to be able to become a highly successful, well-known social media influencer. And another con is that you do become a public persona. And this comes with both positive and negative things. There's going to be haters who hate. And there are going to be people who love you and can't wait to hear from you. And there's going to be people who are scary out there that look up where you live and how to find you. And there's well-known cases of stalkers that are out there as well. And this is something that a social media influencer needs to accept. Unless you run like a faceless channel, For the most part, if you are a social media influencer, you will have to have a public-facing persona that will either feedback to you, positive, negative, or sometimes scary. And yeah, you do need a little bit of a thick skin to be able to say that. Like, I had a negative comment in my video recently that did go viral-ish, and it was not a nice thing. It was somebody who said, "Hey, why don't you step on a treadmill?" Yeah, I already do. But my comment to that was, well, thank you so much for the algorithm push. I really appreciate you watching the video and being part of my viewership. Thank you very much. Now, I don't know if it was my community, or was it YouTube themselves, or was it the person who commented on it that comment disappeared. So I don't know what happened there, but basically somebody who was trying to be a bully or a troll in that sense, I'm able to kind of be okay with who I am and be able to say thank you for watching my video and commenting to help me with the algorithm push. But a lot of people feel that a little bit more than I do. I guess that's the plus of being 50 years old. I don't really care what somebody thinks about me. If I'm providing you value and you enjoy watching my videos, great. If you don't, that's fine too. Find somebody who you do fit with. That's the beauty of online social media influence, is that there is somebody out there for everyone. And that's also what I kind of wanted to touch on as well, is that the negative mindset that some people have, that the excuse mentality, and I was there myself too, and this very much is also a con, in the sense of saying that I'm too fat, I'm too ugly, I'm too this, that, the other, my situation sucks, whatever the case may be, blah, 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 blah. All of that stuff is things that can hold you back. I'm sure there's something that you have gone through in this life or that you've experienced that someone would find of value out there. And it doesn't matter how you look, how you sound, how, great your camera is or how crappy it is. As long as you have kind of great audio, and that could be like for years. I had a very large TikTok channel and all I used was my Samsung Note. And now I just use it for like ancillary backup and that type of thing. But for years, I just used my Samsung Note. And the audio and the video on that was absolutely amazing. And that's all I needed for a very, very long time. It wasn't until I started getting into this on a more consistent basis that I invested into a better camera and better audio and that type of thing, like the Blue mic here and the DJI mics that I have remote. I've had audio issues in the past where video didn't record, so that's why I kind of do a little bit of overkill between the camera audio, that, this, as well as another phone that's recording right now too. Yeah, that's a me thing, not a you thing. You don't need to do that. So anyway, there's no excuse. Just try, just start with, a goal of 10 videos, 10 videos. Do 10 videos from there and then make the judgment of whether or not you were going to do this. I really wish I would have followed that instead of listening to my own mind and sitting on the sidelines for 2 years before jumping in full force. Another con, mindset for sure. But let's get into the positives again and talk about the potential profitability here. So, brief sideline, U-turn for a moment. Not U-turn. I'm not doing a U-turn. Brief interlude here for a moment. I kind of forgot to talk about this in the beginning. And social media influence, there are some considerations that you really do have to think about when you are getting into this type of business. So I want to talk about these kind of really briefly here before we jump into the profitability, because yes. So niche, what are you passionate about? What are you good at? These are some of the biggest things that you're going to kind of need to think about. And I did talk about this in my affiliate marketing video as well, in the sense that there are a lot of people who get into a niche because of the potential profits of it. But really in the end, they, don't love it enough to be able to do it long term. They end up getting bored of talking about the same type of thing, that type of over and over and over again. I really do believe that you need to be in a niche that you have enough passion about, that you have enough knowledge about, that you could kind of talk about it for at least the next 10 years without sounding too repetitive. And I do know that there are some kind of niche videos out there that unfortunately I have unsubscribed from because they did just start sounding like the same thing over and over and over again with the same thumbnail or a different thumbnail and a different title. And unfortunately, that's when you really niche down, is that you have the potential of building a very large audience quickly, but then starting to lose. So you might be a constant cycle of onboarding and offboarding people on a regular basis there. And if that's a business model that works for you, that's fine. I know this company that I'm particularly thinking about is highly, highly profitable, but not something I think I want. I really want to build a long-term community with me. I really want to kind of know the people who I see regularly commenting on my videos and contributing and giving me feedback and saying, hey, you had something in your nose that last video, and reminding me I need to do a checklist to check stuff off and whatever. You really need to think about this before you start. I personally, what I did was I wrote, I think it was probably about 250 video ideas. I figured out different content pillars of what I could talk about, what I had knowledge in, and then potential videos that you could do in that niche. And the beauty of it is that before I actually did this, I use pen and paper, but there is AI, that ChatGPT and Google Gemini, that you can use for this part of it as well to help you with coming up with some ideas. But just make sure that you do some legwork and some kind of insights as to what your niche potentially could provide for you. Also, you will want to figure out what platform you want to be on. Are you an Instagrammer? Are you a person who would be found on Twitter? Would you be on LinkedIn? Would you be a Pinterest kind of person? Are you a Facebook inside out guru? Are you a TikToker? Do you love YouTube? These are all the types of things that you really want to think about when you are starting. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that say, just do it, blast on everything. Myself, I found that I burnt out because of that. I was trying to be everywhere and anywhere, and I really had to scale it back to the places that I liked being, that felt good for me, that felt that I had kind of the ability to grow in. You may get feelings of, am I missing out by not being here? If you do choose the same path as me. But for most part, I just feel that I don't want to be everywhere and anywhere because I'm not an everywhere and anywhere kind of person. I really want to be found in kind of the areas of the people who I would want to like sit at the dinner table with. And that's the way that I chose it, was that I love the community on YouTube. I love the community on Pinterest, and I love the community on LinkedIn. Those were some of the places that I felt really, really comfortable, and that's what I chose to work in. So am I missing out? Potentially. Do I worry about it? No. Am I still posting in those other places? Yeah, occasionally, but it's not my focus. And monetization. I touched upon this earlier. So monetizing your social media business, you're going to have to think of monetizing this beyond AdSense. So looking at affiliate income, is this potential of turning it into blogs, or can you create affiliate links that will provide kind of more passive income? That's something you can take a look at. You can also look at it and say, is there other digital goods that I can create out of this, such as courses or ebooks or, you know, other things that people would find of value within my social media business. There is also the ability of earning income for social engagement. So going out and becoming a public speaker, getting paid to talk in public about what you do and what you know is another option. And then there's the brand deals as well, of being able to be paid by somebody to represent their products. Again, whether you sell your soul or you work with yourself ethically, it's up to you on that side of it. But really looking at all of the different ways that you can monetize your social media business is ideal in order to become a larger creator along the way, and not necessarily just an entertainer. All right, so let's now jump into the income potential. So yes, there are people who will pop off and get monetized within weeks or months of creating their channel. Amazing. super amazing that they were able to do that. Kudos to you if you are watching this and you were one of them. Then there's going to be people very much like myself. 9 months in, at the time of my last video, I started at 176 subscribers. When I launched that video, it went to 175 and I had a pitted stomach feel, and then it kind of blew up. And I am so grateful for the fact that, 9 months, I'm, seeing the numbers I am right now. I'm nowhere close to being monetized, but I am at the point where it finally feels, yes, this is starting to be worth it. It is worth doing the time and the energy for it. So a short-term basis, probably likely not to see a whole lot of income coming from things like AdSense, but there still is the potential of being able to earn income if you sell products, if you are a consultant, if you are a coach, that type of thing. You can create incomes outside of kind of social media if you build yourself as a brand.
Hey, post-video edit, Helena here. The next part of the video, unfortunately my battery died. I swapped it out. I must have changed the position on my camera as well as hit the focus and made it blurrier. So I apologize. It is now focusing on my back and everything behind me instead of me. Audio is still there, but I apologize. Video quality for the next part is not the greatest. I appreciate you for sticking around and working through this. The joys of social media influence. Sometimes things just happen.
But yes, if you are short-term looking at this and saying that, oh, I'm going to become the new Casey Neistat of the world in a couple of weeks, probably slim to none that you're going to do that. This is a grind for most people, 1 to 2 years, sometimes even 3 years. So the two things that really kind of garner success here is niche. Is it a niche that there's enough people who will want to follow and learn from you? And then also consistency. Are you publishing on a regular basis that allows people to feel comfortable enough to subscribe to you? That says, yes, this person is really going to be here for the long term. I do want to follow them because what they have to say is interesting or helpful or entertaining or whatever the case may be. Those are the two areas that are going to affect how fast you can grow and if you can start creating AdSense out of videos or partner program or whatever the case may be, whichever area that you are looking at influencing in. The other thing also, part-time, smaller YouTubers, you could potentially still get to have brand deals. And believe it or not, you're going to get a lot of free stuff. You could be a channel like my friend Josh, who does a lot of reviews on different products that are associated to your niche. Do you get free stuff? I don't know. But I do know that I have been offered free things. I've also been offered monetization through affiliate links. Yeah, that's not monetization companies out there. I can go and do that on my own. I'm sorry. As much as I don't want to turn down opportunities, and I'm grateful that you feel that I am worthy to represent your product or your service, I'm also not going to kind of put myself out there and do something cheap because I want to get other brands and sponsors to notice me. Anyway, again, maybe that's a me thing, but for me, if you are going to pay somebody what they're worth, I don't think you should ask for people to review your products then. If you're not willing to pay someone, I mean, let's face it, if you had to, in years ago, buy a magazine ad for them, how much would you have paid that magazine to be represented in their magazine? Why are people who have millions or even billions of viewership not worth the money? I just don't get it. Anyway, pet peeve of mine. I also got this from my friend Kaya there, who talks about this. Go check that video out. She goes into this way deeper detail. She's very transparent about how she is paid and what you are worth and the whole conundrum of social media influence. I absolutely really hope you go check out her videos and go into this part a little bit more in depth. Let's talk about a little bit more medium to long term, so 3 years plus. So a lot of social media influencers are able to create a 6-figure to 7-figure business in that 3 to 5 to plus range. So these are people who have taken their social media influence to a business level. We're not talking about someone who has just become an entertainer and did nothing with their audience other than AdSense. There's, again, nothing wrong with that. But if you are looking at scaling this into a long-term business that you have a little bit more control over than, who's watching your video when, you're going to really want to build out a business outside of where you are seen. And the people who do take this seriously can make, 3 figures, 4 figures very, very quickly, 5 figures within, pretty much a year or two. And then 3+ years, you're talking 6, 7, even 8 figure kind of incomes. So it is something that you can make a lot of money. It's just a matter of you doing the legwork or hiring the people who can help you do that. And if building an audience and being in front of millions sounds intimidating to you, the next business I'm going to take a look at is something that is really just a local based business. So if we think of something like what Cody Sanchez talks about a lot, laundromats, convenience stores, donut shops, that type of thing. We're going to kind of explore the boring business model next. And in future videos, we're going to explore rental businesses. Is there profits to be made in a rental type business? So we're talking whether that's a rent all type of place or rent a specific product like a wedding tent or whatever the case may be. We're also going to jump into a sales career. So this is one that I know huge information on. Being a commissioned salesperson for the majority of my career, I can talk about this business model day in, day out, day in, day out. The good, the bad, the ugly of it. We're going to get into that part of it. And if you think of sales businesses, you're going to think of real estate agents, mortgage brokers, life insurance people, investment advisors, home and auto insurance reps, travel agents, that type of thing. That's what a sales business is about. And then the last one we're going to also explore in this series is building an app or becoming an app developer. So, are you the next Mark Zuckerberg? Are you interested in being the next ex-CEO or owner or whatever the case may be, or Elon Musk? Is that something that interests you? We're going to also jump into that one. So stay tuned. A couple more to go to finish up this playlist. And thank you so much for being here.